Well, hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. Well, it's been a minute since I did a video on this subject matter, and I'm going to share this with you again, only because I keep getting questions about this subject matter. Hormone replacement therapy, testosterone replacement therapy. Myself, I'm going to come straight out and say it. No, negative. I'm not using any of those things myself. And essentially, I've done videos in the past where I've shared with y'all some of the information that I've gathered through the doctors that I've worked with, as well as the clients that I've had who needed to get on hormone replacement therapy. And for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to say hormone replacement therapy, okay? TRT is specific to testosterone. So let's just call it hormone replacement therapy. It may be testosterone, some growth hormone. We don't know in particular, but the idea here is I'm going to give you 3 reasons or 3 signs you should look out for that you may in fact need to get out to your doctor and get checked. This is important, okay? For some of you guys out there, I know that y'all have been bodybuilders. I know that you've been, blasting and cruising for decades now as far as your cycles with steroids and all of that, and the growth hormones, the insulin, all of that. And eventually, so let's handle this one right out of the gate also. Eventually, when you go off of those things or you start to taper off of them and then you just discontinue them, of course, your body is used to having them in your system. Your natural testosterone levels are not too great at that point. And recovering from those steroid cycles that have gone on for years may take some time. And depending on how old you are, and depending on how strong those cycles were in the first place, you could be looking at a couple of years of recovery from such a thing. And a lot of former competitive bodybuilders, especially, let's just say, even gym-going bodybuilders that never stepped on stage, a lot who decide that they're done with their steroids, done with their cycles, end up within their doctor's office within the first 6 months. They end up there because essentially, hormonally, they've crashed. And the negative side effects of that crash have started to hit them. And these are the 3 that I'm going to bring up today, 3 big ones, okay? One of them is an absolute loss of energy and strength. So that is obvious. With less testosterone running through your system specifically, there's going to be less energy, less strength overall. And that drug in particular, or that hormone in particular, has so much to do with your energy levels and your sense of well-being. There we go. That sense of well-being. So the bodybuilders who end up discontinuing all of their cycles and saying, I'm finished, I'm done, well, it may take as quick as 1 month. It could take as long as 3 months, depending on how they got off of their drugs, to actually experience a hormonal crash. They fall off the cliff. And at that point, when that hits, boy, oh boy, they don't feel like working out anymore. Motivation is at a low. Going to the gym is just going through the motions. Strength starts to drop off. The psychological effects of all of that happening at once is tough. And that's putting it mildly, okay? So that's one thing, the drop off in the strength and the energy. I'm saying to you today that if you have all of these 3 going on in your system and in your brain, all 3 of these that I'm naming today, it would be important to get to your doctor. And you'll see why. The first one is energy strength. The second one that I'm going to mention is if that sex drive is gone, your libido is gone, if you're experiencing erectile dysfunction, okay, this is serious, obviously. And I'm not talking about, a single performance that gone bad. Okay, I'm talking about your wife or your girl turns you on still. And I mean, they're doing everything they can. And yet, it's still not happening. Unfortunately, that may in fact be one of the side effects, again, depending on your age, depending on your mental situation at that time. So erectile dysfunction. And if that one's happening, then of course, one of the very, very big ones, just plain old depression. A lot of men, it's minimized in a lot of men. I talked about this in a couple of my videos on hormone replacement therapy and depression in particular. This one is insidious because most men out there, they don't walk around admitting that they're experiencing depression. They don't, there's a machismo factor. There's a, being a strong, silent, being the leader, being the head of a house, being the boss at work, being the, just name it, go down the list, being the rock, for your family, all of that. The expectations of society on a man, and a lot of men out there suffer silently when these things hit. And that depression, okay, I don't do a lot of videos where I'm repeating myself, from what I said a couple of years ago. I like to do a video and move on to new subjects. You can tell by my channel. This one, however, has come up so many times that, excuse me, I had to bring it up again in a new video. If depression hits, first and foremost, I have to say, if the other two are absent, your sex life is fine, your energy levels are fine, but depression has hit. And I mean, regardless of whether you are a steroid bodybuilder who has just come off of those drugs in recent history, or if you're just a man and you're just getting a little bit older, you're past 40-ish, and depression has hit. It's worth going and getting your hormone panel, asking your doctor for a hormone panel. Have him check out what's going on internally. At that point, it's worth doing. At that point, you may be a candidate for actual hormone replacement therapy. If that's the case, suck it up, go and get the business done. A good doctor will keep you in a healthy, perhaps slightly high range. Hormone levels, slightly high, I say, because I know a lot of the philosophy in the medical community is to keep you feeling very good and living a higher quality of life. And so that may take some, messing around for over the course of several months to figure out the right dosages and things like that to get you within a normal range and maybe leaning towards the higher side. So optimal hormone levels, they usually like to say. That's between you and your doctor. I'm not advocating for or against anything like that. I will say, however, that I don't agree with a lot of the commenters, to my videos at least, who have said things like, well, if you're on hormone replacement therapy and they're just keeping you within normal levels, that you are natural. No, you're not. No, you're not. Natural is not putting anything in your body, by definition, okay? So what are we talking about here as far as how does that compare? Well, John, why is that not natural? Why is that not as good as, well, I didn't say that part. If they're keeping you within a normal range as compared to you prior to that in a normal range, then yeah, I would say you don't have any kind of super advantage over anything that you were before when you had normal hormone levels. It's just once they tanked, that part we need to have corrected. So I'm in big time agreement that if specifically you're dealing with a depression, that one is so serious that it's got to get you in front of your physician, and you've got to get yourself tested and find out where you are at. I've met more men over the years, and of course in the last 5 years, 7 years or so, it seems to be, in the bodybuilding community for sure, they take it as gospel that if you use any kind of PEDs, any kind of hormone replacements, any kind of hormones in general, steroids or other, that when you retire, you are going to be on TRT, they call it. And they basically look at that as for life. And I completely disagree with that. I've known way too many men over the years who were competitive bodybuilders, and they did it well into their 30s, maybe even into their 40s. And then they just simply eventually got off, and they lived their lives just fine. Had a completely happy, healthy life, and even had kids, all of those things. And were strong, healthy, worked out. We're still aggressive, we're happy, all of those things. So I don't agree with that in the bodybuilding community. In the natural community, does getting older mean all of those things would happen? That your testosterone as well as your other hormones would kind of fade out. You're mainly anabolic hormones, growth hormones, things like that. IGF-1. If they're phasing out a little bit, does that mean that you're going to suffer greatly? Does that mean that you're going to, have extremely low energy levels, have low libido, low sex drive, have a complete depression as you get older? Well, no, not at all. If you're the type who is, number one, living on the positive end, you're more of an optimist in life, then likely, no, you're not going to suffer from a lot of those things just from getting older. If you're the type that has a wife who really, really works hard at turning you on, and you the same with her, but no, I don't think you'll suffer from those things. If you're the type that, excuse me, if you're the type that generally you are an optimist in life and you see all the positives and you are in pursuit of many goals and you do go to the gym, you crank it out, lift some weights, and do it aggressively, no, I don't think you'll suffer from depression. I don't. Chances are you won't. Could you? Yeah, I guess you could. Okay? So those are my 3 big reasons why you should get in front of your doctor. Okay, why TRT or HRT may in fact be necessary. And just without any, and I'm the natural guy, I'm kind of known as the natural bodybuilder and all that stuff, drug-free. And at this point, I can only say that in our society, quality of life is a big thing. And so you don't have to suffer silently. I don't agree with any of that. And it may, in fact, change the quality of your life to such a degree that you can be more productive, happier in general, and all the people around you will benefit from that as well. All right. So listen, before I go, off to my left, you're going to see that disc pop up next to my head. You know the routine. Give that thing a tap. It'll let YouTube know and notify you when I have new videos pop up. And then down below, off to your left, you're going to see a thumbs up button right there. Look at the size of that thumb. Not as big as that one. Well, actually, that one's a little one, but when you turn it blue, it counts a lot to me. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that you like my channel. Appreciate that a lot. From my heart to you, I'll see you soon.